Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Fantasy Football Future. I'm Tyler. This is Tim.
How's it going?
And today we are going to do some starts and fades for Week 8. Pretty good week here. A lot less buys than last week. And the teams that are on buys, I know the Ravens are a big one, but there aren't too many good teams like last week with all the top hitters with Bills, Cowboys, Vikings being a part of that too, and then Steelers. So hopefully this week's a little bit better with bye weeks. I know it's starting to get into that you're playing people you don't really want to play because it is bye weeks, but we're just here to hopefully give you some names that aren't really too bad. And so let's go ahead and jump on into some news around the league here. I only have one thing. I know you mentioned today that Eckler did not practice today, which is, it being Thursday, is something that is concerning for him. Especially him being a healthy play all week and then coming off that bye and now being on the injury report is something to keep an eye out for. He did tweak what did he tweak in his game? The other, a hamstring 2-3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
So that could be something to keep an eye out for.
This is a hip injury.
Okay, so that's something new with him. He hurt his hip last year, wasn't it?
I think so.
So something a good eye to keep on with him, especially you have him to see if he's going to be practicing the rest of the week, and even if it's in a limited participation, it's still better than not practicing at all. So That's a big one. One that I feel like kind of came out of the blue here with Mark Ingram heading back to New Orleans. Super weird, I think, but I think New Orleans just wanted to fill that Latavius Murray role that left with a pounding, a goal line back outside of Alvin Kamara. So to me, it's kind of, I don't think you're too concerned if you're Alvin Kamara owner, but it is a guy that will probably take away some touchdowns each week.
I think he will. Because especially last year when you got down the goal line, Latavius Murray had a lot of touches.
Yeah.
Kind of took those away from Kamara. Only thing is that Saints team does not look good, so they're going to have to give Kamara the ball a lot. I just think they're trying to limit him a little bit so he doesn't have so many hits so he can stay healthy. Yeah. So I get it, but at the same time, it kind of came out of nowhere. No one was really talking about it, but I think it'll help the Saints maybe have the two running backs now that can do some damage on the field. Yeah,
and that's what, Mark Ingram, he definitely could be a play you just hold on to just in case something were to happen to Kamara. But now I guess it's a conversation. Does it open the door for David Johnson and Philip Lindsay?
I think it does. I still wouldn't like picking them up because there's so much of back and forth. Like the other day, I think they had a game where all three of them scored. Probably. David Johnson, Lindsey, and Ingram. So it probably helps them out a little bit if you're in those deeper leagues. Go pick those two up. I would probably say Philip Lindsay. I think he's on the field a little bit more. And then David Johnson is a catching back out of that backfield. So maybe depends on what kind of league you're in, if it's deep or not. But I think it's something to look for. Maybe David Johnson is that first pickup you should go to, and then Lindsey's after him.
Well, that's what I was looking at it as. So you're looking here, Tyrod Taylor is coming back into the lineup this week for the Texans. Now, he's no Deshaun Watson, but it's much better than what Davis Mills has given him. And I think we saw last year at the end of the year highlights of what David Johnson could do with a competent quarterback. They finally switched his role up to where he was catching more out of the backfield and doing more design runs that fit his run style. So to me, it's I think it's hit or miss with either one. You could sit on David Johnson hoping the fact that they traded for him, they're going to use him. He's paid well, so they want to make him the number one back. But Phil Lindsay's also been on a 1,000-yard rusher back-to-back seasons for a guy who's undrafted. So to me, it's really hit or miss, and it's kind of pick your poison. I know I picked up David Johnson just because I had a spot open, so I might as well just pick someone up. It was better than any other option out there.
Looking at the snap count, I was wrong. David Johnson is on the field a lot more than Philip Lindsay is. So that's definitely go for David Johnson first.
I think David Johnson, he's not going to win me a league or anything, but
he could help you.
It's a guy in a trade, or maybe I'm a guy's on flex on buy. throw him in your flex, just hoping he gets a touchdown or something. Especially that offense doesn't look terrible with Tyrod Taylor back there. Like we saw the first 2 weeks, they were moving the ball much better, which I think now bumps up Brandon Cook's value again. So something to keep an eye out there. But I don't have anything. I know Hopkins was questionable, but he's back in.
Yeah, the only thing Barkley, Galladay, and Tony are still sidelined from Thursday.
I would assume none of them are going to play.
And then everyone, I was going to ask you, Gallup's back this week. Do you think that affects like Schultz or any of that team, or you kind of just...
I don't think so. I think he just fills in whatever Wilson's been doing.
Okay.
I think Schultz, the Cowboys use two tight ends on the field a lot, and I think they're going to continue to do that because they've had good success with it. I don't see why you fade away from Schultz, and I think if it might take some away, but Schultz I think will still average you in a PPR 10-plus points a week because the touchdown potential's there, and they use so many sets with two tight ends with the run game. It's great play action piece, and I think Gallup's more. I think Wilson's more of a dynamic route, like he can run more routes where Gallup's more that hit you down the field deep. Yeah. The only thing kind of worries you now is what CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper's outlook going to look like right now, but I don't see much changing. I think the Cowboys are kind of finding their niche and what their offense is. I don't see them fading away from it right now. They've won, 4 straight, 3 straight?
I agree with you. I think Schultz is still going to be a lot better play than a lot of tight ends you can play. So he doesn't catch 1 or 2. He catches 1 to 2 less passes, but it's still going to be a good enough week to be in the top 5 tight ends. So I'm not worried about that. I think he might take a little bit from Cooper and Lamb, but those two wide receivers are so good that they're not going to, Gallup's not going to be that much of a difference.
To me, this offense is, you could play anybody. I think out of the 3, Gallup's the one that you would play low flex, like if you have 2 flexes, flex number 2 kind of guy.
Yep.
Hoping he has a good, huge week. But
if one of those 2 go out, I think Gallup would be a great pickup.
Yeah, 100%.
To play.
So, big news with that coming in. Pretty much it there. Giants is all dinged up in general, so it's not good for them. But so we'll go ahead and jump into then some of our starts for this week. Go over some of the games too over here. First start of the week is Darrell Williams with the Chiefs against the Giants. To me, I think this is a big play for them. The Mahomes getting banged up at the end of the game last week was a big thing for me, why I put him in here. And the Giants have given up 781 yards to running backs, which is over 100 yards a game. And I just expect them to try to establish the run game early and just try to make sure they're keeping their guys healthy and maybe try to get into a rhythm of a more balanced offense and not making the game all in Mahomes' hands and making him do things that he doesn't want to do. Because I was watching some article thing, and this guy dove into the film, and he's like, this is a lot of what he was seeing with Mahomes back at Tech when he didn't have a solid O-line. He's just running around trying to make too many plays and just throwing the ball where he shouldn't be, trying to fit the ball in places that he shouldn't be. So I think maybe Andy Reid really tries to get the ground game going to help Mahomes' struggles as of late.
Yeah, I think also going into this matchup, so they played the Titans last week, and when they can't score, the Titans can score on offense. So that's when the Chiefs has had to go away from the running game because they got down so bad. If this offense struggles, I don't see this game getting out of hand because the Giants are not that good. They're so banged up. I know they put a lot of points on the Panthers, but the Chiefs are better than the Panthers. So I believe that, like you said, the Chiefs will try to get the running game going. The Giants aren't good against the run. And I think they have to kind of go back to the basics a little bit. It's what I would do. I don't know if the Chiefs are doing that, but if you want to get back to basics, Darrell Williams, that running game, get that going. Get down, you don't have to do anything crazy. Run the ball, do some play action, and then I think Darrell Williams has a great game this week.
That's what I feel like this is where Chiefs kind of start to get into the rhythm that we saw last year. Now I don't think they'll fully get into it, but I think if they get into a groove right now, you'll see it continue throughout the year here. So it's a big game for the Chiefs. I think they end up routing the Giants pretty badly, and Darrell Williams, I think, will have a good game, and everybody else will probably have a good game too for the Chiefs. So he's our first must start. Second must start here is actually a backup running back who came in for Montgomery being hurt, and actually Damian Williams being on the COVID list has really helped out here. It's Khalil Herbert versus San Francisco 49ers this week. Jonathan Taylor, huge week game last week against the 49ers defense. And I feel like Khalil Herbert right now is the only bright spot on this Chicago team. He had 100 yards rushing against a very good Tampa Bay defense last week. Mm-hmm. And he's a great receiver out of the backfield, and I think they're going to continue to rely on him. And with Justin Fields, he loves to check it down right now. I think it's just a smart play here to get a guy like Khalil Herbert into your lineup right away.
Yeah, from what Jonathan Taylor did last week, he had a big game against him. And I think Herbert can do the same thing. Herbert looks like he's going to be that backup running back. I think Damon Williams this kind of lost his job, especially when Montgomery comes back. If Montgomery, when he comes back, he's not going to be fully into the offense. So I think what the Bears need to do is keep going what's working right now, and that's running the ball. They can't pass at all. Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, just nothing's happening with them. So you go to what's working, and Herbert's the guy. Yep. So run the ball, dump offs to him. Between Fields like dumping up the ball, and then there's also they run a lot of plays like short route plays. Yeah. They're not going deep at all, so that's when Herbert comes into play almost every single play. So I think it's a great matchup, and he needs to be starting. I would guess around RB2 this week, but at worst your top flex play.
Yeah, RB2 flex. If you can play him in a flex, I would do it week in and week out till he is taken out of that lineup. Just because he, like we said. It came out, Allen Robinson said, pretty much put the whole blame on Nagy, saying Fields didn't get any number one reps with any of us. That's why we look so bad. So I think it's going to something we're going to see Herbert continue to get a workload in the system. But Matt Nagy is out this week.
Yeah,
tested positive for COVID. So I don't know. I'm curious to see what this offense is going to look like without Matt Nagy running the offense.
Yeah, this over-under for this game is 39. So it's
crazy.
Yeah.
So Khalil Herbert, I think, must start. It's low RB2 flex for sure. So he is good. Number 2 must start. Number 3 must start for us this week is Brandon Cooks. Tyrod Taylor returns as starter, and I just feel like you're gonna want to play Brandon Cooks because we saw early weeks him getting 10+ targets a week. Catching the ball, having like 9 catches, 100+ yards a game. So I expect him to be the target leader. They did lose another running back, so maybe they're going to try to throw the ball, spread it out a little more. I just think with Tyrod coming back, Brandon Cooks is on the up and up, and I think as the best player on the worst team in the NFL, I think you got to play him. Especially he could be a wide receiver too in your roster or a flex play this week.
Yeah, so. I think he looked great with Tyrod Taylor at the beginning of the season, and with Brandon Cooks, being the 6th overall wide receiver in targets at 64. So I think it's going to be a great matchup. Tyrod Taylor loves going to him, and like you said, losing Ingram might throw the ball a little bit. It gets the Rams, and the Rams, their defense isn't the best.
No, and
I think it's a great matchup for him this week.
Texas easily get down early too, and then they got to spread the ball around.
And Brandon Cooks is pissed. Did you see what he put on Twitter?
No.
He was very mad they traded Ingram. Very mad.
Why?
I don't know, but he was not happy, so he's probably be playing pissed right now, trying just to play to get that next contract.
Yeah, so he's definitely, I think you got to play each weekend. So, must start number 3 there is Brandon Cooks. Now, this quarterback here, I put in at number 4. Trevor Lawrence, I feel like, has grown week in and week out. And the biggest part of his game that's underrated right now is the rushing factor that he has with the Jaguars. And I think that's what's going to be a huge key with the Seattle defense this week. Seattle's defense isn't great. They give up a lot of pass yards. They don't give up a lot of passing touchdowns right now, but their rushing defense isn't that great either. So I expect James Robinson to have a big game, and I expect Trevor Lawrence to follow it up with a solid passing performance. And I think he's going to have a huge game with his legs this week.
Yeah, I agree. So with Trevor Lawrence against kind of the lesser defenses against Houston, Miami, and Tennessee, he's averaging around that 20 points. Mm-hmm. So he's playing against not a very good defense this week. He's going to be able to throw the ball a lot. He has James Robinson back there. That's really really controlling the run game. So between that, he looks more impressive each week. He doesn't look great at all, but I think he's really coming around. And just coming off this bye week, I think they're going to have a plan that's going on. They got that win, so they got that off their shoulder. Now you can just have fun with it, because the Jaguars aren't going to do anything, but they've won a game, and I think that's going to help them out a lot.
And I think the big key right there is coming off the bye week this week against Seattle, who is they are hurt at quarterback, so I feel like there's a lot less pressure to score. And I think Trevor Lawrence is just going to, like I said, I just see them being able to move the ball, especially with James Robinson developing that run game like he has over the last couple weeks. So to me, I'm looking at Trevor Lawrence as a must start, because you could have a quarterback that's on a bye. And I just feel like he's a guy that you want to insert in there, because he brings that dual threat where he can run the ball too. So to me, I like Trevor Lawrence this week, and I think he'll have a huge week, and I think we're only going to see him continue to go up in this league. So so Trevor Lawrence is our must start number 4, and then our last one here, you could pretty much say any receiver on this core, but I think with the Bills playing Miami, Diggs obviously must start each week, but I think Emmanuel Sanders is working his way into a must start role each week in a flex position because of the volume he can take and how good the Bills' offense is. Miami has given up 1,300 passing yards with 10 touchdowns to receivers. Whoa, choked on my spit there. Sorry, guys. 10 touchdowns, 2 wide receivers in 7 games, which is the highest in the NFL right now. Their defense is atrocious, and I expect Josh Allen and them to throw all over him coming off a bye week. And I think Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders, and with Knox being out, it's a big way for Sanders to step up and working into that red zone role.
Yeah, I agree. So they played Miami week 2, and I don't think the Bills' offense was clicking then.
No, not like it is now.
Because then now, I think like you said, coming off that bye, it's going to be big for them. Miami's defense is terrible, and so I agree. Emmanuel Sanders is going to have himself a day. They're going to throw the ball all over them. And you just hope that maybe Miami can kind of stay close a little bit, so then the Bills have to throw the ball a little bit more. I expect Emmanuel Sanders to have himself a game, hopefully even get into the end zone.
Yeah, and that's why I think the biggest thing that I look at is the fact that Dawson Knox will not be in there. And he was starting to become one of Allen's favorite targets, especially in the red zone. You're looking at Diggs, all eyes are going to be on him. So you're looking at Beasley and now Sanders to kind of take over that role. And I think out of the two, Sanders is your better play each week. He's more consistent, and I think he takes more targets each week. Beasley can put up those big games, but Sanders, to me, is just more consistent play week in and week out. Yeah. And I think he's going to continue to put up big numbers with the Bills. And I think against a really bad Miami team who's giving up a lot of points to teams.
Yes, they are. I even think they're pretty injured on the defensive side, I'm pretty sure.
So just expect him to be a good must-start here, especially in flex or RB2 spot. So that'll round out our starts for the week here. We'll just go over them again real fast. It's Darrell Williams with the Chiefs, Khalil Herbert with the Bears, Brandon Cooks with the Texans, Trevor Lawrence, QB1, Jacksonville Jaguars, and Emmanuel Sanders with the Bills against Miami this week. Okay. Fades this week, I feel like we're a little bit tougher.
Yeah, I think there's a few on here that people are still going to be playing just because of the buys and kind of maybe the option that, or there's a chance they could go off. I think it's more of we don't think they're going to have a good game, that there might be better options like a running back, like a Darrell Williams, Khalil Herbert over maybe a couple of these running backs, or like Emmanuel Sanders and a couple other wide receivers.
Yep. So first guy here is Corey Davis with the Jets. And they're playing a Bengals team who is very hot right now, rolling. They just beat a very good Ravens team last week, held them to 17 points or so.
Yeah, 14 or 17.
So I just think that him having Mike White making his first career start as the Jets quarterback with Zach Wilson being out, it's just going to be a tough game for Corey Davis. I know he saved his week last week with a rushing touchdown, or not a rushing touchdown, a receiving touchdown. I just find it hard for them to move the ball this week, and I think a lot of Mike White's passes are going to be smart, and he's not going to take a lot of risk. And there's going to be a lot of dump offs too. Michael Carter type of play. Jameson Crowder.
Yeah.
I just feel like Corey Davis, they know he's the focal point of that offense, so he's going to be someone they're going to keep out of the end zone.
Yeah, Corey Davis is like scoot down the field a lot, and I don't think Mike White's going to be doing that a whole lot. I think the Jets are going to try to keep it as simple as possible just to stay in this game, which I don't really think they will. No. I think Cincinnati will kind of take control, so I agree with this. Corey Davis, I'm not starting this week. I think there's a lot more wide receivers, even that maybe wide receiver 2 or 3s on teams that will have a better game than Corey Davis.
Exactly. So Corey Davis, first fade. He's just been super disappointing. I feel like too this year. Mm-hmm. Zach Wilson, Jets offense has looked bad.
Yep.
But I don't know. You can't really expect much when you're playing Mike White, who made his first ever appearance in an NFL game last Sunday. And it's his 4th year in the league. So
yeah, there's a reason why he wasn't starting. So he's not going to be this guy that's coming out of anywhere.
Well, I guess we did miss that. Joe Flacco is going to the Jets, but he won't be there till Friday. So he's not going to play this week, but he's an option for next week with Zach Wilson still being out. So see how elite he can be with the Jets. So first fade, Corey Davis. Second fade, this guy has been probably one of the biggest disappointments of the year. He was a steal of the draft last year, but this year, has he been terrible? And it's not the lack of targets or anything. He just can't catch a pass. And he's dropping balls left and right. I watched the game last week. I think I watched him drop 4 passes in a row, and it just kills strides. And that's Robbie Anderson with the Panthers. I just feel like Matt Rule wants to run the ball, and they really might have to start trying to identify that because Sam Darnold has looked terrible the last couple weeks. They're playing Atlanta, who isn't great, but they're not terrible against pass. So to me, it's just, I think it's going to be a big game of DJ Moore, Chuba Hubbard, and them trying to work that in more because DJ Moore is clearly the best wide receiver on the team. Mm-hmm. And you can just tell Sam Darnold trusts him a lot more. And at what point do you stop throwing Robbie Anderson the ball?
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to that point. I'm done with Robbie Anderson. I was kind of big on him. I thought he'd be kind of like a Robert Woods all over the field. He's getting all those targets, playing a lot, and just he's not catching any of them. Can't really put on Sam Darnold. Maybe it's not the perfect pass, but you don't need to make that perfect pass. No. He's just dropping them, and I understand why you're keeping him because you drafted him probably pretty high, and you just don't want to drop him, and then all of a sudden he finally figures it out in week 8, but I think it's already done. I'm sitting him. You're not going to get any trade value from him, but from here on out, I think he's going to be a fade for me until he can prove otherwise.
Yep, that's what he can sit on your bench for the hope that the Panthers figure it out, but I don't see them doing that. Their offense has looked terrible the last couple of weeks, especially with McCaffrey being out. So that's our second fade. Our third fade this week is Cortland Sutton with the Broncos, who is another offense that, to me, has looked brutal the last couple of weeks. They started hot. Talk about a fraudulent team in the Broncos over the last... To start the year, they did great. But I'm expecting them to come out and try to run the ball heavily to start the game. And I think the return of Jerry Jeudy is a big key factor here for Cortland Sutton. I don't know if Jeudy will play a lot, but I think they're going to work him in and try to get him the ball as much as they can. Yeah,
last week he started getting a little bit less targets. No offense really stepping up from them. And then them having those 2 running backs is really taking a lot. They're just trying to run the ball, trying to figure out what to do to get back on track. Those first 3 games, they look good. And then I think they lost 4 straight after that. They're 3-4 now.
Yes, they have lost 4
straight. I think Cortland Sutton's one of those people that I mentioned earlier where we're fading him. We don't think he'll have a good game because of Jerry Jeudy coming back, because Noah Fant is really getting into this offense because of the running backs. But I would expect a lot of people to still be starting Sutton just because he is that number 1. And you don't know how much Judy's going to play. And they're also playing a Washington defense that's not very good. So I understand that, but at the same time, I just think with that how that offense is going, that I'm fading Sutton this week.
Yeah, and that's what, I don't know, it's just something keeping an eye on, especially with Teddy being hurt right now.
Yeah. And Drew Lockett comes in there.
Yeah. So, I don't know, it's just, with Jeudy, they look a lot more efficient, and I feel like Bridgewater trusts Jeudy a lot more. Mm-hmm. I don't know, I think the Broncos are pretty much in win now mode, because if you don't, I don't know what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be interested to see if they make any trades or anything with Melvin Gordon being back there. But to me, it's just a toss-up here to see what's going to happen. But yeah, I think Noah Fant slowly taking over those targets, and the share. And with Judy coming back in, it's only going to hurt Cortland Sutton, in my opinion. So that's our third fade. Our fourth one here has been a guy who's probably been. Talk about Robbie Anderson being one. So, if you're looking at a guy you thought you could steal at 7, 8, 9 round, that's Robbie Anderson, and he's been a huge bust. But, you're talking about a first, second rounder who's probably been terrible for all fantasy owners. He maybe had 2 weeks solely saved off of touchdowns. That's Antonio Gibson with the Washington football team. Been playing hurt all year.
And really the past 2 weeks, big time.
To me, it's... You play him because of what he can do, what we saw last year. But at what point are you going to sit him for a guy like Khalil Herbert if the opportunity's there?
Yeah, I think the Broncos, their running defense is actually okay. And the last 2 weeks, week 6, 39% snap count for Gibson. Week 7, 42%. McKissick's in there a lot just because Gibson's hurt.
Yeah.
And I know he's playing hurt, and so that's why I'm sitting him this week, just because I think there are better running back options of who can get you more points, who's going to be on the field more. And so I understand the big name for Gibson. You know what he can do. He's shown what he can do. He's just not doing it right now because, A, football team's bad.
Yes.
B, he's hurt. And C, they really like McKissick. So they are playing all those 3 things is why I'm sitting them. They're going to a bye next week, so I really think they're just kind of make sure that Gibson can get through this game and get into that bye week.
That's what if I'm the Washington football team right now, I'm sitting Gibson, letting him rest this week, letting him rest next week. There's no point. They've won 2 games? They're 2-5, I think. At this point, you're not going to win the NFC Beast. So I think you just let it go. You take the rest your best player. Let him get rest to maybe where you can come back after the bye and look like he was at the end of the season last year. But yeah, Antonio Gibson to me is just they wanted to make him the McCaffrey type back, and they sure did with all those injuries.
Yep.
But not the production. So that's something to keep an eye out for with him. But I think if you have an opportunity to play Khalil Herbert or Darrell Williams, I think you do it over a guy like Gibson.
I agree.
Especially this week. To me, it's just... So, no, even maybe a guy like Javonte Williams. You might even slide in for the potential of the fact that he's going to catch some balls. Yeah, they pretty much split 50-50. So you're looking at a guy who you can trust a little bit, he'll be out there. And you're not going to lose points to J.D. McKissick running around. So Antonio Gibson's our 4th fade with that. 5th fade here, guy who he gets the workload that you want, but he gets a catch and he falls. It pretty much, or he gets tackled, and that's Jacoby Myers with New England. He averages he'll get 10 targets a game, he'll catch 8 of them, but he'll have 60 yards receiving. And the biggest killer right now is he's not getting in the end zone.
He doesn't have one touchdown.
No. And the one he did have got called back on a penalty.
Yep.
To me, it's just I like Jacoby Myers. I think he's a good fit for that offense. But they don't when they get down that red zone. It's
Hunter Henry,
Damian Harris, or Mondre Stevenson thrown in there. And it might help if N'Keal Harry gets traded. They might do some more packages with him, but.
Yeah, I think Jacoby Myers is 8th in the league in targets, but like you said, he catches and doesn't get anything. That's what's difference between him and Brandon Cooks. Cooks gets in the end zone. He goes for yards. He has a couple of 100-yard receiving. Myers does not. And he's 8th in the league in targets, but he does not have one 100-yard game. So I believe I'm sitting him this week. I have him just because that PPR where you can get a lot of catches. But there's just more guys that might have a less, 1 or 2 less catches.
Touchdowns change.
You have a touchdown, or you have someone that actually can go for over 75 yards a game. So I'm sitting him. I think he's not going to have a good game, especially against the Chargers, where I think the Patriots are going to just run the ball over the Chargers because you have to. Chargers defense passing is really good.
Yeah, that run. I think they're 20th 25th or so.
They're very bad against the run.
Or worse against the run. So I think you're looking at Damon Harris coming off 2 back-to-back big weeks for them. Is going to they're going to get back in that groove. And we talked about a little bit on Tuesday that Bill Belichick loves to develop the run game.
Mm-hmm.
Sets up perfectly for a guy like Hunter Henry and their 2 tight ends with Jonnu Smith. I just think you're going to see Jacoby Myers. He'll see that production like we see, but it'll still continue to be like 8 catches for like 50 yards and no end zone. If he could start finding the end zone, then he easily becomes a must start in the flex spot. But until he does that, you're sitting him on the side and just hoping he doesn't have a big week on your bench. So that rounds out the fades here. I'll go over them one more time. That's Corey Davis with the Jets, Robbie Anderson with the Panthers, Cortland Sutton with the Broncos, Antonio Gibson with the Washington football team, and Jacoby Myers with the Patriots. When do you think the Washington football team changed their stupid name?
I think after this year, they have to, because they kept it because they made it to the playoffs, but they're not making playoffs this year, so they'll be changing it.
And hopefully Dan Snyder's out of that.
I really hope so.
Stan Kroenke, if you're listening to this, F you, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is all our picks. Our starts and our fades for this week. Let's slide into our college football picks for this week. I have 3 of them.
I have 2 for sure.
Okay.
I might add one. You go first. I might add one.
Okay, so I'm going to start here. SMU money line against Houston. I know these are very close teams on paper and not just on paper but in reality too. I just think SMU has a little bit more edge. They have a little bit more talent, I think. And I think they go in and beat Houston at home. This game right now, it was a 1-point spread at the time, and the money line was pretty much even. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at 2 of the same teams going at it, and I think SMU pulls out the win here against Houston, and I'm going to take SMU money line first. And then next one I had BYU at -2.5. I forgot who they were playing. Didn't write it down. But yeah, so I like BYU -2.5. It's a team
Virginia.
Virginia. To me, I think they're getting +2.5 because Virginia's ACC team. Virginia hasn't looked terrible, but I think BYU beats them, and they beat them with ease, especially BYU being at home. I just think it's a hard place to play in Birmingham. So I like BYU here, -2.5. And then my last one is Pitt -9. They're playing Florida, and Florida has they're not a good football team. Or not Florida, University of Miami of Florida. Pitt is I think they're better than U. The U, I think, is overrated.
I thought North Carolina State was going to beat them, but I don't think Miami's a very good team.
No, so I'm taking Pitt here -9 at home against an okay U team. So those are my 3 picks this week. I don't know. Those are mine. We'll talk about, if you have them, I'll throw away and put on the big games for this week.
So my first big one, I'm actually taking Wake Forest -16 over Duke. Duke's not a good team. Wake Forest actually is looking like a pretty good team right now in the ACC, and I think
they're the one that that probably has the best chance of making the playoffs out of the
ACC because Pittsburgh lost Western Michigan, so that's already done. So if Wake Forest can somehow win out, they can win. I think they have to win this game. The Duke's not good, so I think they cover -16. I'm taking Auburn -3 at home versus Ole Miss.
Yep.
I believe Ole Miss, their quarterback's kind of hurt. They're going into Auburn. That's a tough place to win. Auburn's actually decent. I think they can salvage their season by winning.
Trust no Bo Nix, Tim. I agree. That was one that I was looking at. I feel like Auburn does win that game.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like going into Auburn and trying to win there is a tough atmosphere. And Ole Miss, you could argue they should have lost to Tennessee. So I think you put all trust in Bo Nix and Auburn this week.
Bo Nix look a little bit better.
And beat them. So, yeah.
I got one more. I'm actually taking Ohio State -18.5 over Penn State. With Penn State losing last week, but it's actually more on Ohio State how good they've looked.
Yeah.
They're really scoring on people, and Penn State can't score in Illini's defense. We're Illini fans. Like
Whoa, we are not.
You watch Illini.
I don't watch Illinois football.
Well, okay. But anyways, we both know Illini are bad. So Penn State barely scoring on them. That's not good. So I don't think they'll be able to score the ball a whole lot. It's at Ohio State night game. I think Ohio State comes up for that game and kind of kills them.
That's what, to me, I feel like Ohio State, it's what they do. They start off shaky, they get in a roll, and they just start steamrolling teams. And I think that's what we're going to start to see. Now, 18.5 to me is tough. Penn State's defense is good, although they did give up 300-plus rushing yards against a bad Illinois team.
Yeah.
But Stroud's looking great for Ohio State at QB, and Olive's a stud wide receiver. And I just think they have one of the best running back rooms in the nation right now at Ohio State, and I see them running the ball well and then throwing the ball well too. Mm-hmm. So I like Ohio State to win the game. 18.5 points I think is a lot, especially in any Big Ten game. But yeah, so but they're at home. If it was reversed and they were at Penn State, the line wouldn't be that big in the first place, but it'd be closer. But yeah, Ohio State's just they're real good. Actually, my favorite team, if you were wondering.
Yeah, but you know Illini. We live in Illinois, so
I don't know Illini. I don't watch Illini.
Okay.
You know an Illini player?
When Illini get good,
Juice Williams. I will not be a good Illini fan.
Okay.
Go Juice. Although he beat Ohio State.
Yeah.
That was unfortunate.
Yeah, they got killed in the Bowl.
Yeah, they sure did. Michigan State, Michigan here. What are you taking?
I'm actually going to take.
Michigan State was plus 4.5.
Yeah. I'm going to take Michigan. I think they're going to win and cover this game. I don't know why I think that, because Harbaugh always has a bad game and can never win the big one. But I think Michigan comes out of this, wins it, and they cover.
That's what this one's a big game for him. If he has to win, he has to prove to himself that he can win in big games. We've seen it over and over again. Ohio State has single-handedly embarrassed the Harbaugh family because they just continually beat Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines all the time. To me, I just feel like this is a game that's going to be closer than what you think. Michigan and Michigan State haven't really played anybody this year. So, I don't know. I did hear a stat like the over has hit Jim Harbaugh's, when he had a Michigan team going into a game, they're favored by something. The over has hit like so many times. Mm-hmm. So I think if I were to take one, I'd listen to that stat. I'd take the over there. But I do like Michigan State plus 4.5 this week. I think it's going to be a close game, and I think Michigan State could beat them. I feel like they're pretty much an identical team playing each other.
I think so too. I think Michigan's just a little bit
Michigan's
better
defense gives a little bit, like 100 yards less a game, I'm pretty sure is what it is. Yeah. So it's hit or miss here, but I think if you're taking Michigan State, Michigan, but that game's at 11, which is stupid to me.
Yeah, it's a very weird. That almost makes it, I don't know. That's why it almost makes it feel like Michigan's going to cover, because it's a big game, but it's not like.
That's why I feel like Michigan State will, because it's not a huge game.
I think it was at night. I think Michigan State would win. I think it's opposite.
I think it's completely different. If it's a night game and you're at home, you play so much better because it's a build up to that moment where you're coming out 11. Who really cares?
But it's at Michigan State, though.
No, I'm pretty sure it's at Ann Arbor.
I could have swore it's at Michigan State.
Pretty sure it's at Michigan.
No, it's at Michigan State.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm taking Michigan State, so why did I read that was at Michigan? All right, we'll take it. Michigan State plus 4.5 in the over.
Michigan minus 4.5.
So, yeah, those are our college football picks. You got any World Series picks you want to throw out real fast?
I don't care about baseball right now. Watching the Cardinals play, I just, don't care. Cardinals have 6 guys up for Gold Glove, so go Cardinals.
Go Braves. You still owe me $30, by the way.
You still have the Ron Jones bet.
That's sparse.
Okay.
That's the only for Spar. But yeah, so that wraps up here our episode. This is our Week 8 starts and fades. Check us out on everything. Go subscribe on YouTube. And check us out everywhere else. Let us know what you think. Appreciate all the support. Deuces.
See ya.